I'm sure many of you have recited or heard of the English rhyme, "What are folks made of?" For those of you who haven't, let me tell you the words. What are little boys made of? What are little boys made of? Snips and snails and puppy dog tails and such are little boys made of. What are little girls made of? What are little girls made of? Sugar and spice and all that is nice, and such are little girls made of. You would also have heard or have been told that boys like blue and girls like pink, or boys play with trains and video games and girls with dolls. So actually, let me just say that I don't mind that girls are made of all things nice. After all, aren't we? But I do want more. To my point, you see, these examples show us that boys and girls are put into these social constructs that box them from day one. And this is how they tackle the world or approach it, because that is what they know. It starts right from childhood. Fortunately for me, because of the work I do, I have traveled around Ghana quite a bit and exposed to some of our villages. So meet Ama from Bunkungu Yogo, who is a daughter, Kofi, a son, and a mother who has a big decision to make on who can go to school because she has limited resources. Without thinking, mother will send Kofi to school and Ama will stay at home. Why? Because there is perfection to be built for Ama in the marriage making business and the family building business. She will be taught how to cut, to clean, to do the chores in such a way that she's a perfect wife who will be given away in a few years. In the meantime, Kofi gets to go to school, take risks, be brave, be bold, and explore his world. Yes, this doesn't make any sense to you, does it? It doesn't make sense to me either. However, this is the reality of many rural girls in Ghana. Keep Ama's picture in your mind for a second as I take you to a journey to the city to meet Christabel. I am Christabel. I'm a senior social protection specialist with the World Bank, which means that I support the poor and vulnerable to receive social welfare and also tackle people within vulnerable groups such as youth, looking at their employment situation and finding solutions. I also founded an organization in 2011 called Ahaspra Professionals Network, where I support young professionals who have come home to make a difference. I am the last of 4 children, 3 girls and a boy. All 3 of my siblings are computer engineers. Wait a second. Sechua, the oldest one, is actually a lawyer now. This is because at age 35, she decided that she's going to switch from being a computer engineer, working in one of Africa's leading computer companies, to become a lawyer. Even for an open-minded family like ours, who had seen global lives and issues and are versatile, we still thought it was a silly idea because Sechua was following perfection in computer science. Why would she want to take the risk of switching careers at such an age? 7 years later, Sechua is a litigation and corporate lawyer and one of the best in Ghana, if I may say so myself. But back to me. I never did the sciences like my siblings. I always would joke that in my family we have an electrician and 2 mechanics, but we did need a diplomat, and so I studied international relations, and now I'm at the World Bank. In my job, I've had to take risks, even prior to getting the job. But let me specifically talk about COVID-19, which has turned our world upside down in 2020. When COVID came to Ghana, and actually around the world, it was prudent that the World Bank re-engaged with governments, re-established ourselves to be relevant in the development society to another level. We did this by identifying funding that could help poor people in general, but poor and needy people when it comes to the work I do. Now, the way we do our projects, typically we follow a path of perfection, where we look at global world practices, examples of things that other countries have done. We engage stakeholders, we write, we analyze, we think, and then we produce our projects, which would have good results. No, In April 2020, there was no time for that. I had to take a risk and figure out literally overnight what to do with my project to make available funding for poor people. Otherwise, we would lose relevance. So you see, perfection is not necessarily a bad thing. It allows you to be diligent and self-determined, but it also doesn't allow you necessarily to get the results when they're needed. So risk-taking is important. Finally, meet my friend, big sister and mentor, Lucy Quest. Lucy Quest happens to have been the first woman to run a large telecommunications organization in Ghana, and really the second in Africa. Lucy is an electrical engineer who went to an all-boys high school, so that is already relevant in taking risks. At 39, when Lucy took on the job at Airtel Ghana, she thought the one thing that would inspire people the most was her age. But no, it was the fact that she was a woman. That was a big deal because this was a man's world. Rewind to before Lucy took on the job at Airtel. She took a job, not so exciting one, in the Democratic Republic of Congo. She took the risk, picked up her kids, and went to DRC, a fragile country. People thought what she was doing was going backwards, and she was taking a risk that didn't make sense. Fast forward to Airtel Ghana looking for Lucy. They focused in on the fact that she took this risk, and she was a risk taker and would be able to take their organization to the next level. But even for Sechua, Christabel, and Lucy, who are more exposed than Amma, we sit around and have conversations and realize amongst ourselves that there were many times that we should have asked for a bigger paycheck and did not. We watched our male counterparts just go for it, like they even talk about things that they weren't qualified for with a lot of energy and passion, and went in ways that we could not. So even we toe the line of perfection and need to figure it out. Let me take you one step further to Hollywood. We all love movies too, don't we? But did you know that the stars in Hollywood, women earn $1 million less than men on an average film? Your jaw dropped, didn't it? Your mouth is still open. That was the same for me when I heard the statistics. So I have given you stories of 4 women, including myself. The first one has little to no exposure and access. The second, third, and fourth have a lot, but all of them have been put within that social construct of perfection, although they've pushed and thrived along the way. That is for those who had the opportunity of education and family to take them. I would like to explain to you how these city girls made it. But before then, because I'm talking to millennials, you also understand perfection. You YouTubers, Facebookers, Instagrammers, even your pictures need to be perfect. But I would like to remind you that the people who created the very tools that you're using to look perfect took a risk with a very small idea to get to where they are. Now, before I go, let me leave you with 4 things that I think will head you in that direction where, as a girl going on to be a woman, you should push for bravery, risk, and not only perfection. 1 is family. If you haven't already, please read Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Tipping Point, where he talks about association, because that fits into my point 1 and point 2. Sechua and Christabel, the two sisters I mentioned to you before, pursued paths that were not necessarily the normal path, particularly with Sechua and switching jobs. How did we come to this stage? I didn't tell you about our mother, who was the only female soldier in her regiment in the 1970s in Ghana. Yes, she just got up and decided to go to the army. So when you have a mother like that, you take risks. You realize there's nothing in this world that you can't do, and you keep pushing, no matter how much society boxes you. Then there's environment and friends. Remember Lucy, my friend and mentor? Because I, Christabel, met Lucy, I'm able to share her story. She tells me her struggles, and she tells me her joys as well. And because of that, I don't have to make some of the same mistakes Lucy might have made. Why on earth would you want to make mistakes if somebody else has made it for you? So find yourself a mentor or two, look for role models, read autobiographies, one of my favorite pastimes, to learn about people's successes, but more importantly, their mistakes, so you don't repeat them yourself. Finally, last but one, education, which I won't dwell on too much because you are from one of the best schools in Ghana, so you know about this. But remember Amma. How do we change Amma's plight so she can have an education and access like the rest of us and become brave? Finally, what is very personal to me and something I try to live by every day, just do it. Just do it. What could be worse? You fail, then you try again. They say if your dreams don't scare you, they are not big enough. I will add, don't just leave them as dreams, but go out and make them realities. Big, big realities. Even when you stumble, rise again because you will make it. In the words of one of my favorite people and one of the best basketball players of our time, Michael Jordan, in all his successes, he said, I have failed over and over and over again in life, and that is why I succeed. Our girls can become the Michelle Obamas. They can become the Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. They can become the Angela Merkels. But how can they do that? They need to be allowed to take risks. They need to fail. I know this because I have lived it. I haven't figured it all out and I'm still working on it. But I know that you succeed by trying. To succeed, you must take a risk. To take a risk, you may fail. With that failure, you learn. And with that learning, you thrive. So when I have fallen, I try to stand. But I would like to entreat all of you here today listening to me, but particularly girls who will turn to be women and will take over the world, that the way to go is to push yourself. Don't allow society to box you. Take that risk, dream big, turn your dreams into reality, and you will thrive. Thank you.